Hello, new mic, same me here. Welcome back to another video. So, I went on a vacation a couple days ago with my wife Jordan and my best boy ever, Felix. It was amazing. I left like literally right after I dropped that pre-release video, and I didn't have time to check out Amplified. It was a true tragedy. I was so excited for this stuff to come back, and then I couldn't even check it out. I'm back now. Amplified is back now, and I've had time to check it out. Today we're going to look at it. It's so good. Amplified 1.18 is a way better reality than old Amplified 1.17. Amplified 1.17, who is she? Forget it. We don't want it anymore. This Amplified, so much better. So I've been exploring in Amplified a couple different worlds, just checking things out. Today we're going to look at a couple different structures, look at worlds, things like that. The first thing that I've noticed with 1.18 Amplified is caves. Look at this beautiful cave. So, okay, I will admit it. I will take it back. This is like this cave is like a 4. Okay, actually cut. We won't be rating the attractiveness of the caves in this video. That's for another one. But this cave is inside of the new Amplified terrain. One of my big questions with Amplified terrain in 1.18 is the caves. One of the biggest parts about 1.18 is, of course, the caves. Will the caves go into the new terrain? Yes, definitely. They absolutely will. It's so cool. But I think we could find a better one. So we're going to look for that today. Oh yeah, silly me. I've been away for so long that I almost forgot to say, if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, and if you aren't subscribed, now is literally the best time ever to subscribe, because I'm making huge upgrades to the setup, getting ready for that brand new 1.18 series. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be perfect. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe, turn notifications on, and you won't miss it. The first seed that we're taking a look at is this seed right here. World Spawn is right over there. Right off the bat at World Spawn, the generation, the shaping of this land is insane. Like, what even is this? This is like future vibes for sure. It's like floating mountain with a cave underneath it. It's really cool. That's going to be a common theme in Amplified today. When I was setting up for this video, I put out a tweet asking every single one of my perfect Twitter followers what they wanted to see about 1.18 Amplified terrain. One of the first replies that I got was this. Okay, I don't get it. The oceans are not changed in 1.18 Amplified. They're the same. Which, you know, to be honest, is a little bit of a bummer, because I feel like there's so much potential in amplifying the oceans. Like, imagine an amplified ocean that goes, like, insanely deep, maybe even into the negative Y range, and that would be really cool. It would definitely mess up the caves, for sure, absolutely, but it would be amazing, like, amplifying an ocean. Now, in terms of structures that can generate in 1.18 Amplified, if you're completely new to Amplified, they all can generate. So an ocean monument, something massive like that, it definitely can, and some other structures that we're going to look at today, they can also generate too. Amplified is basically just crazy land, if there's land. Tony M, with a profile picture that looks suspiciously like my cat Franklin, was wondering about the cave biomes. Are they still here? Yes. Wow. This terrain is so good looking. I love when this happens, like those flat parts, like right up there. It looks so good. And then just like the shaping of it all in general, it's so unrealistic and just amazing. Top tier stuff right here. But the cave biomes, are the cave biomes changed? It depends. They're kind of changed because, of course, new terrain higher up, which means biomes can generate a little bit higher up. Aside from that, though, I think the cave biomes are all pretty much going to be the same. I've tested this out in a couple different worlds, and consistently, they're all just like inside of the caves. All of the caves are exactly the same as normal 1.18 caves. Unfortunately, just like the ocean, the caves don't actually get amplified or anything like that. They're just here. They're just caves. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a rock that is more amazing. The rock is a literal arch. It's a literal arch. This is perfect building. Now, I'm not sure if this is just because of amplified terrain or if this will be able to just naturally happen in 1.18 if you're lucky, but the lush cave is definitely kind of, in a way, spilling out onto the surface. I mean, technically it is covered, so I guess it's a cave, but it's also open, so is it the surface or is it a cave? I'm not too sure, but I can see it from the street. Amplified can get tall, really tall. In 1.17, it could always get, like, insane. One thing that I have found out from exploring Amplified World so far is tall. Amplified 1.18 is a tall king, for sure. This stuff can get insane. Now, this one right here, clearly it's going to go past the clouds, which means it's going to be in the 200 range somewhere, but it could get even higher. We can go past the 200 range with this amplified terrain generation, which is absurd. Actually, you know what? Surprisingly, this peak looks like really tall, and it definitely is for sure. It's at 259, but actually, 259 is relatively normal for 1.18 terrain. I think 1.18 terrain usually gets capped at like 256 or something like this, which is still like equally as insanely tall and kind of normal, which is weird. What isn't normal is the land shaping. So one of the things that Amplified does is makes things really, really tall. Another thing that Amplified does, or seemingly does, is like chops things up and makes land float in really, really strange ways like this over here. And it also kind of like carves like cracks through mountains and things like that. Like over here, we have this mega spruce forest thing, whatever they call this. This is a public service announcement for my sake, for other people's sake. Can we please stop changing the biome names? Can we just make them all the same name as always? This is the old growth of spruce taiga, and it is crazy. The hill is cut weird. This is a public service announcement. Can we stop changing the biome names? This is the end of the public service announcement. Thank you for your time. I don't know if this is a good thing, a concerning thing, or what, but to be honest, for me, the first thing that comes to mind when I see these really, really insane cliffs next to water is, can I jump off of this cliff and land inside the water? Which, yeah, definitely. It's insane how tall these things actually are. Every single time I talk about Amplified lately, I end up saying it, but really the perspective from the ground in survival, looking up these cliffs, it's absurd. It's insane. Like, flying around is one thing, and it's cool. You can get a good view of this stuff. But on the ground in survival, like looking up at it, you realize how massive these things are. Now, one thing that I have been finding inside of Amplified terrain a lot that I really, really like is this right here. A lot of the mountains, because of how tall they get and how steep they get. Oh, look, another lush cave. That's cool. Because of how tall and steep some of these mountains can get, you start to get this layering. It's almost like the Badlands biome, which is really cool. You have dirt and then stone and then dirt again and stone. Not the most exciting layers, not very much variation, but layers. And it looks really, really cool, especially from a distance, like just looking at the mountain right there. The layers like swooping down, kind of following the land. It's really cool. And I feel like the layers make it really like defined in terms of land generation and terrain. Paulo asked about villages. One of my favorite structures to look at in Amplified Generation, because all of the village structures are like individual structures, which means you get floating islands like this right here. Now, this is an abandoned village, but I mean, it's like basically a village, just empty now. And this is what it looks like. Floating islands for this structure, floating island again for that structure, and then you get this interesting stacking. I was noticing this happening a couple times. There's no way around it at all, and I don't want a way around it. It's like absurd. You have the house, and then the land on top of the house, which, I mean, if it's all connected, it's just all just the same house still. And then you have more house up here and, and even more house there. Because of how the village structure itself is, you know, a bunch of smaller structures combining into one big structure, you get some really interesting looking generation with like floating islands and stuff. Also, because of Amplified being crazy, you could have a village go from like 64 water level all the way down here, all the way up to this spot right here, which I'm going to call like pretty much the highest point in the village. Maybe this is like 150. It is literally 150. I've been playing this game way too long. I don't know how I called that one, but if you need good luck, I'm your guy. So how about a different village? Same thing is going to happen again. We have a village that this time actually looks a little bit more normal because it's a more flat area of Amplified. But then when we go up and we get floating island right there. And then the rest of the village is actually relatively normal. So inside of Amplified Worlds in 1.18, you can definitely find more flat areas like this spot right here, which I love. If you're trying to do an Amplified survival, realistically, traveling through Amplified terrain like this stuff over here, basically impossible early game. Like, it takes a lot. You're going to have to climb and jump, and yeah, it's like, it's a lot. Flat areas like this, though, early game, this is perfect. You could build yourself up over here, set up a farm, and then travel. By the way, I said it in the pre-release, Amplified runs smooth. Deanna and Carlisle both had questions about ores in 1.18 terrain. They generate at the same spot, so if you're looking for diamonds, you go down low. The caves aren't changed at all, so it's going to be basically the same diamond hunting strategy. The ores up high, though, they might actually be changed. We have to check that out. When it comes to the real diamond hunting strategies in 1.18, though, right now, I kind of don't know. I've done a little bit of testing, but I'm waiting to find out for the most part, for the actual update. In 1.18, some ores, like iron ore, will generate more commonly the higher up you go. In 1.18 Amplified, terrain gets really, really high. Does that mean iron gets pretty common high up? Yep, definitely, for sure. Look at this iron right here inside of the Stony Peaks biome. Super common all over the place here. Emeralds as well, but the iron really is very, very prominent all over this biome. Now, how about the peak biomes with 1.18 Amplified? Kind of normal looking, at least this one. Like, don't get me wrong, it's absurd, and it's really, really tall, taller than normal now at this point. But it's kind of like normal looking, right? Like, we have the sea peaks. That's a normal survival. Sea peaks are here too. Floating islands. I feel like I've seen that a little bit in normal terrain generation. Something like this. Yeah, that's absurd. Not normal at all. But like this over here, that's what I'm talking about. Like, kind of normal.
And the calcite, which makes it beautiful.
Because of how stony peaks generate with all of the stone, the ores get really, really noticeable. But it's not just in the peaks biome. Right here is a forest, actually. And there's ore too. We've seen some wild generations so far in today's video, for sure, but nothing as tall as this. This is the tallest peak that we've seen so far. The land down below, don't know them. They don't exist at all from up here. It's really, really, really tall. This spot, 316. And 1.18, the build height limit thing, 320. 316, we're like basically there. You get up here, you can't even build a house on top of this peak. This is absurd, and this is basically as tall as they can get when it comes to amplified generation. But new peak biomes. The new mountain peak biomes are by far some of the coolest biomes in the entire game now. To be clear, that does not include the Grove. New peak biomes. The frozen peaks, what does it look like? Kind of like this right here. Ice all over the place. Again, the layering that's happening. This biome is such a cool looking biome already. Make it crazy, cut the mountains away in weird ways like this, and you get this amazing, amazing looking terrain. This place is also really, really tall. Check this out. Right here is like 270. But it gets taller. If you wanted an asteroid-esque survival experience, maybe you're living on the moon or something, this Frozen Peaks biome right here is exactly the spot. 309. It's a literal floating island up here, and this thing, yeah, actually that's floating too. Some of this amplified floating island stuff being so far from the ground, at certain points you can't even see it, definitely gives me Aether vibes too. King B as in Beansdog? Is this a hint? This is a meadow biome. It's kind of normal looking, but also not normal at all. It's weird cutaways in here, hanging all over the place, but it's a meadow. I think this is Snowy Peaks. Snowy slopes, you're lying, that's what I said all along. It's not very slopey, it's pretty steep. Minecraft 1.18 Amplified Nether. What is it? Minecraft 1.18 Amplified Nether, I believe, is just normal nether. This is the nether spawn that I got this time around. Basalt Delta is very, very normal looking. All of this pretty normal too. Amplified terrain, to my understanding, does not really affect the nether. Maybe. Is that a basalt tree? I think that's a basalt tree. So aside from that mildly cursed tree that we just found, the rest of the amplified nether, at least in this seed, looks pretty normal. I'm pretty sure amplified doesn't affect the nether. I like to look at villages inside of amplified. It's really, really cool. But I also like to look at mansions inside of amplified. They're also pretty cool. And whoa, that's really, really close to spawn. Like less than 1,000 blocks from spawn inside of this world. Like, that's insane. Here's the mansion. This is an ocean mansion now. It's an ocean mansion. Okay, we're gonna have to find another one. I mean, it's cool though. Wow, aside from being in strange biomes, this is actually like really, really normal generation. Tall cliff right there. Crazy. But this is like pretty normal. I wonder what happened here because this is all a beach right in there. If that's the ocean. I mean, I guess this mansion must have tried to generate like in the very corner of the Dark Oak biome, like over here or something, and then just went for it and committed, even though it goes into the beach and the ocean. I've never seen that before. But let's go like 100,000 blocks away and try again. Maybe we'll find a better mansion. There we go, there we go. That's more like it. It's not as crazy as some of the other mansions that I've seen in Amplified, but like the cobblestone base, the mansion fitting into terrain in weird ways, I don't think I will ever get tired of looking at mansions inside of Amplified terrain. Kind of interesting. Alright, so I don't like to pick favorites really, but I pick favorites all the time. The Badlands biome is probably one of my favorite biomes. Amplified 1.18 Badlands. How cool is it? Well, it's cool. 1.18 generation across the board, the entire world, it looks really, really cool. But I feel like personally one of the biomes that gets the biggest upgrade because of this 1.18 terrain is the Badlands biome. I mean, like the striping and everything, the new hill shapes is really, really good looking. Take it and amplify it and it does the impossible. Amplified 1.18 Badlands, they're even better than normal 1.18 Badlands. Check this out. We start off relatively normal here. Aside from gigantic floating land masses like that, relatively normal. Like this first hill is pretty plain looking. It's a hill. The striping looks so good. Over here it gets really, really flat. Interesting. But it's kind of normal. We move further into the Badlands and it starts to get insane. Like, I don't know. I spent some time looking at this thing. Look at this. This is the shape of the body. It goes up. It goes around like that. And then the nose is out there. Like, it's a head. You can't change my mind. It's definitely a head. Headrock is sweet, but it gets better. Take a river, put it in the Badlands, already an amazing sounding thing. You have the deep river, the Swedish river carving through the rocks. It's cool. You get stripes. Put it in the 1.18 amplified Badlands, and the stripes go crazy. Look at this thing. We have the sand down here, and then the layers starting. This stripe right there, I don't know. It just looks really, really cool to me, and it keeps going. The striping seems to go like insanely high up. However, the striping, the higher it gets, it looks like the stripes get a little bit bigger. Like this yellow one right there, that's a pretty solid stripe. Over here, is it a river? I don't know. Kind of looks like a cove, but there's a mine shaft right there. Look at how this thing generated. I thought this was so cool. The mine shaft almost looks like it was like trying to bridge across this thing, but then it just couldn't. Like they ran out of wood. It fell apart. I don't know. It just stopped. Also an exposed spawner right there, which is pretty sweet. The mine shafts inside of the Badlands are already really cool. Take it and amplify everything, and you start to get mine shafts that are exposed on the side of a cliff. It's really cool. Mineshaft is cool, but it gets even better. Floating islands, floating terrain in general. Probably the best part about Amplified. This. Look, I don't even know what this is other than a masterpiece. I don't even know what to say about this thing. It's so good looking, breathtaking, perfection. Badlands, amplified 1.18. I don't think I've ever seen anything better. Ever. I mean, if I had to say something, I guess we could go to the statistics of this thing. Statistics always work. This thing is tall, goes up to basically the top of the world, 316. Stony Peaks biome behind there, that's a nice bonus, but it's not the Badlands. But this thing right here, oh, and by the way, there's a mine shaft down there. Check that out, editor, zoom in. Thanks, me. Thank you. It's a mine shaft. Amplified Badlands, 1.18. I think it's the best thing that I've ever seen. Genuinely. This is so cool looking. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. So I've got a new mic. I'm still working on setting it up. I'm sorry if it was a little off in this video. Like I said, working on setting it up, making some other upgrades to the setup too. The content is truly like a living, breathing organism. We'll see it changing, evolving, growing right before our eyes. It is so emotional, truly. And I'll work on fixing the mic if it was messed up. If you have any takes, throw them down below. Big thank you to my patrons, Cypher1158 with Justin and Jacob P, and Fateful Grimoire. I appreciate the support. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.